We've come to accept that video game mechanics are just a part of playing video games, so don't bat an eyelid when we can carry 15 guns at once, or have to go and stand behind a wall until the ketchup disappears from our eyes in our supposedly realistic first-person shooter.
Get down!
Some games, however, choose to go the extra mile and give you an in-universe explanation for things like respawning enemies, keeping you confined to the play area, or just the fact that you can shrug off multiple bullets and carry on with your day. Here then are 7 genius ways games justified video game mechanics. Enjoy, and beware spoilers ahead for the following games.
This next test involves turrets. You remember them, right? They're the pale spherical things that are full of bullets. Oh wait, that's you in 5 seconds. Good luck.
While Portal 2 is in first person, it is most definitely not a first person shooter. The only violence that you, the player, will be doing is to your keyboard when you accidentally launch yourself into acid for the 45th time today. That being said, there are what could be described as enemies in the game, and they take the form of turrets, sleekly designed white plastic gun turrets that still manage, against all the odds, to somehow be cute. Many of Portal 2's puzzles involve you figuring out how to use portals to make your way past these bullet-spewing battle droids. But sometimes, portaling doesn't go to plan, and you might find yourself taking a few shots before you can scurry back into cover. What you'll notice though is that despite being a normal human being, clad only in a tank top and overalls, your character Chell can withstand being shot multiple times before she actually dies. Normally you'd shrug this off as, it's a video game, it wouldn't be fun if she died in a single hit. But it turns out there is actually an in-universe explanation for why these turrets don't seem to do as much damage as they should. That explanation can be found in this promotional Aperture Science video, in which Aperture founder Cave Johnson extols the virtues of his company's turrets.
The turret. How do we get so many bullets in them? Like this.
He goes on to mention that the turrets fire the whole bullet, apparently, through the use of high-powered springs.
Plus, we fire the whole bullet. That's 65% more bullet per bullet.
So the bullets in Portal 2 aren't actually being fired, rather, they're being thrown at you, casing and all, by big springs. Painful, certainly, but a lot less deadly than if they were being fired the regular way, which is why it takes a lot more of them to kill you. That Aperture Science, always innovating.
Shutting down.
Link! Be on your guard.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild introduced a bunch of new innovations to Nintendo's long-running series, such as breakable weapons, a gear system, and the ability to cook terrible food. Innovative for Zelda, I've been doing it for years. It was also open world for the first time in the series' history, and that presented a bunch of new problems for the developers. Previously in Zelda games, the overworld would reset whenever you entered a building or dungeon, and everyone just took that as being what happened in Zelda games. This meant that enemies you'd killed previously would be back as if nothing had happened. Breath of the Wild doesn't do this, but it does still run the risk you find in all open world games. If the enemies you defeat stay dead, how do you stop the open world becoming totally empty by the end of the game? The answer, of course, is to have the enemies respawn, but to keep the immersion going, Breath of the Wild introduced the concept of the Blood Moon, which is both a genius way to justify enemies respawning and super metal.
Ganon's power grows. It rises to its peak under the hour of the Blood Moon.
In-universe, these Blood Moons are the result of Calamity Ganon's power peaking and escaping from Princess Zelda's control within Hyrule Castle. This causes his minions to be revived, as well as replenishing items throughout the game and replacing weapons and gear back where they were before you took them. It's basically a very smart way for the game to reset its cache, and as such, it isn't a timed event, but rather triggers due to a number of factors, such as how many enemies you've killed and how long you've been playing for. Therefore, Blood Moons are unpredictable and scary because you never know when they're going to happen.
Link, please be careful.
Well, I mean, the big red moon is kind of a clue, so, you know, keep an eye out.
A monster that's been giving the Research Commission a lot of headaches has shown up again. We don't know exactly what the monster looks like, only that it sent dozens of hunters back in bad shape.
One problem common to games with large open worlds is players getting lost. Like, we didn't have this problem with Super Mario, am I right? I cannot figure this level out. Regardless, games get around these problems in various ways. Some give you a big arrow to follow, others put little waypoint markers on your HUD, but very few try and actually give their wayfinders an in-universe explanation. Not so with Monster Hunter World, Capcom's 2018 entry into the smash hit Monster Hunter franchise, which sees you hunting down kaiju, hanging out with cats, and eating some frankly delicious looking food. Your job, as in all other Monster Hunters, is to track down the specific monster that you're there to hunt. And to help you do that, the game provides you with a handy organic wayfinder in the form of scout flies, a green swarm of monster-seeking insects that will guide you to the various monster tracks you need to investigate to narrow down your quarry's location.
The scout flies are responding to the monster's trail. Go get a closer look.
As you find more monster tracks and environmental evidence, the scout flies will level up, getting a clearer idea of where your monster is until they're basically a living monster GPS, pointing you in the exact direction you need to go to find your prey.
The scout flies have picked up the monster's trail. Follow the green light they leave behind.
Only problem is that then you have to fight the monster, and they're big and scary. Not much the scout flies can do about that, unfortunately.
Even the biggest open world isn't infinite, so designers often have to come up with explanations for why you can't just go wherever you want. From the good old-fashioned invisible wall, to impassable terrain, to people who'll shoot you if you even try. Go ahead, tough guy. A fine example of a story-based explanation for keeping you confined to the play area can be found in Detroit Become Human, a game that imagines a world where hyper-advanced, commercially available androids are indistinguishable from humans, especially if you're extremely bad at QuickTime events.
Jesus Christ.
While Detroit Become Human often gives the illusion of being a game where you can stroll anywhere you like, in fact, you are rigidly bound by invisible walls. But in-game, these invisible walls are explained away as being your Android programming kicking in to keep you on task. Feel like seeing what's down here? Too bad. According to Asimov's little-known fourth law of robotics, you're programmed to go to the bus stop instead. Hey, if you don't like it, take it up with Isaac Asimov. These protocol barriers stop you from breaking outside the bit of the game you're supposed to explore, but also serve as regular reminders that it sucks being an android because lousy humans expect you to follow orders all the time.
It's as good as new now, except that we had to reset it. Meaning we had to wipe its memory. I hope you don't mind.
It'll be fine.
Which is a real shame, because I've heard down there is the best part of the game. Yeah, it's like a kart racing track, and you get your own kart, and it becomes a kart racer.
Oh.
Yeah, David Cage is my uncle, actually, and he told me.
Oh man, that's
yeah,
so
he
cool.
works at Nintendo, and he phoned me, and he was like, kart racing, but
Wow.
can't go down there because you're an android.
Whoever flew this went down in a blaze of glory. Those Jedi. Real tragedy. Yeah, I've always said they couldn't all be traitors.
Yeah, maybe.
Guess it's just our lucky day.
Unlocking new skills and powering up as you go through a game is a core mechanic in most video games, and it's handled wildly differently depending on the game you're playing. Some just assign you skill points to spend on the skills you want, others strap you into an electric chair and make you drink green goo that fell out of zombies. Okay, it's just the one game that does that. In EA's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, however, you're playing as a Jedi, who by the end of the game will be in possession of skills that, canonically, it takes years and years to learn and decades to master. How are they going to explain their leveling up system in a game where you start with 0 powers and end up as a fully fledged Jedi, which takes place over the course of a few weeks? Well, in Jedi Fallen Order, the Jedi you play as is Cal Kestis, a former Padawan forced into hiding by Order 66, the specific Empire order to kill all the Jedi.
Asher, are you okay? No! No!
Having been in hiding since the Jedi Purge, Cal is now trying to re-establish the Jedi Order, despite the fact that this would mean he'd have to go back to having one of those horrible Padawan rat tail hair braids.
Do you understand?
Yes, Master.
Which is all well and good. The problem is that Cal is a little bit too good at laying low and not being a Jedi. So good that at the start of the game he's actually forgotten a whole bunch of Force powers that he used to know. Or to look at it another way, has repressed them all due to his Order 66 related PTSD.
This is no common anarchist, but a devotee of the treasonous Jedi Order.
And it's not just the showboaty ones, like floating apples around to impress girls or sand-related pickup lines. Actual useful stuff, like Force Push, Force Slow, Force Pull, and the ability to double jump.
Just gotta keep getting back up, Edie. As long as we get back up, we're still in this fight.
And so in Fallen Order, the way that you upgrade your Force abilities is that at certain points in the game, you actually have to unrepress your memories and relive your original training in the Force when Cal was just a little kid with, yes, a horrible Padawan rat's tail hair braid.
Good. Now reach my position. You can do it. Perhaps I chose the wrong Padawan.
In these flashback sequences, you're being trained by Cal's old Jedi Master, Jaro Tapal, who, I'll be honest, puts you in a lot more danger than an 8-year-old would ideally be subjected to. Hanging you upside down, making you jump over large gaps, and beating you in the head with metal spheres.
Use the Force to push the ball at the target.
Maybe Order 66 was a good idea after all.
You have a water phobia? Me too!
Huh? No. Well, yes. My family has this problem with water. It's a bunch of hooey anyway.
Look, I'm just going to come right out and say it. Nobody likes water levels in games. They're slow, and they look horrible, and you're constantly almost drowning, and yet if you put water in your game, you either have to let people go in it, or come up with a good excuse as to why they can't. Right, like John Marston being overwhelmingly violently allergic to water touching his hat. Pretty sure that was it. One game which featured plenty of water and a good reason to stop you going in it was the original Psychonauts, in which you play as Rasputin Aquato, a 10-year-old acrobat/psychic.
I'm here to train, no distractions.
If Raz attempts to go in the water, a strange hand made of water appears from the depths and attempts to grab him. You've got 2 chances to get out, but the third time the hand surfaces, it will drag you under and set you back on the shore. In-universe, this is explained as being an old curse that was laid on Rasputin's family by a rival circus group, wherein every member of the family was cursed to die in water. As such, Raz really wants to avoid going anywhere near the wet stuff, and after a few encounters with this creepy hand, you'll be right there with him, just like the developers wanted in the first place.
Some old gypsy curse about how we're all supposed to die in water. If you can believe that.
The story gets even more complex in Psychonauts 2, where it transpires that the curse was made up to try and suppress Raz's family's powerful hydrokinetic abilities, and never actually existed in the first place, the hand being nothing more than a manifestation of Raz's subconscious fears. So once we found that out, we can go in the water, right? Wrong, although the hand is a lot more friendly about sending you back to the shore now, so that's something. Man, they really do not want you going in that water.
If you try and rip the world apart, someone will always put it back together.
The human eye is in many ways a real piece of It deteriorates with age, it can only see in the visible spectrum, and when it gets an eyelash in it, it feels like you're being stabbed with a tiny dagger. Faced with these inadequacies, we can only gaze enviously with our rubbish human eyes at the high-tech future eyeballs that Adam Jensen, cybernetically enhanced protagonist of Deus Ex Mankind Divided, is working with. Known as the retinal prosthesis, these advanced eye augmentations are how Adam Jensen sees the world, and, by a neat coincidence, how you see the world when you're playing his video game.
Hold on. Shit.
That is to say, the heads-up display in Deus Ex Mankind Divided isn't just your standard video game interface layered over the first-person perspective of the player character, but actually reflects what Adam Jensen sees with his cybernetic vision. Which means Adam has an augmented reality layer that feeds useful digital information directly into his eyes, so he can follow his latest waypoint without checking the map on his phone, or keep track of how much ammo he has without stopping to count the bullets. Further proof, as if any were needed, is how interference or damage makes his vision glitch out, such as when someone explodes a bomb in his vicinity. So we can infer Adam's eyes are vulnerable to explosions, but I bet when they get an eyelash in them, they don't leave him completely helpless. These high-end optoelectronic units are also the perfect justification for how Adam Jensen can see through walls and highlight items of interest, whereas every game just expects you to accept that an ordinary zombie-killing dude has X-ray vision. I don't see what the big deal is. I can see through walls too. Look, there goes Luke.
That's a window.
I see. We're told that the retinal prosthesis device is a micro-thin base coating layered onto the inside of his eye, with a synthetic neural tissue spike connected to the optic nerve that lets it project digital information directly on the retina. Which all sounds super legit, leaving only the question, if they can make eyeballs this advanced, why do people still need sunglasses? Oh, to look cool. Of course.
Hey, thanks for watching this video about genius ways that games justified video game mechanics. The one decision you don't need to justify is treating yourself to another video from Outside Xbox or Outside Extra. This one is from us. You will enjoy it, I think. And down here is hand-picked for you by me. So check that out, it's from Outside Extra. And if you want to support us and the videos we make, why not check out the OX Supporters Club on patreon.com/OX Club. See you over there. Thanks for watching.